Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming into another video. Alright, so I'm just talking LA Lakers here randomly because we got a game in about 3 hours. I've already made my Laker Knicks video, but I just wanted to talk anyway, see what happens. Um, it had really nothing to do with the Lakers, actually. What had me prompted to speak was listening to people talking about the Bucks and the Warrior game and how it was so unfortunate that the Warriors won the Bucks game when Giannis didn't play. And my thing is, if we're counting on the champs losing, we're already looking at this wrong. I think the Warriors' downfall is a bit overstated. I'm not going to say premature because I do think they're falling. I think they are as bad as they look. But I'm also poised to be completely wrong because this is a very, very healthy Klay Thompson, Steph Curry working his way back from injury, Wiggins, who has nothing structurally wrong with him, which means whenever he comes back, he's healthy. He'll have to get his wind back and everything. I don't know what kind of conditioning he has going on with his personal circumstance, but the point is he's not out with injury, which means he steps back on the court fine. GP2 should be back by the playoffs. You see what I'm saying? You see how this shaping up? Kuminga stepped away with an injury, but it's not going to keep him out for too long. He'll be right back. Draymond's healthy. DiVincenzo's healthy. You see what I'm saying? Not Moses Moody, but the other guy, Looney, Kevon Looney. Moody and Looney's name always mess with me, but both of them are healthy, even though they don't use Moody. So they're going to get better. That's my thing. The Warriors, unless they have a setback with any of these injuries, guys are starting to come back into the lineup. And the guys that they've been leaning on are going to be more reliable to be leaned on less, if that makes any sense, because they've been playing more. So when they sit back down, you know that next time you have to call on them, they'll be more ready to play than they ever have been before. So I think the Warriors are poised to be a better playoff team if they make the playoffs than they are a regular season team right now, just based on the pieces that they're going to be getting back and Steph Curry getting healthier and all that kind of stuff. So them beating the Bucks, to me, is just, it's not something that is surprising to me. Obviously, with Giannis being out, you definitely expect the Bucks to be less of a team, but I just don't look at the Warriors as a team that I can ever count on to lose. Even as they're losing, as bad as they are on the road and all that, I still would never wager any money against them. I just personally wouldn't. I've watched them just like all the rest of us have for as long as they've been doing this, and it just doesn't really matter what kind of team they have. If Steph and Klay are healthy, any given matchup they're in, they can win. That's what I'm here to tell you. That just like we say about Anthony Davis being able to mask a lot of problems and D'Lo's shooting, how he was able to bust the game up in the last game, that is exactly what happens when you have those type of shooters on the floor. They can bust a game up. Whatever you think you're doing right, they string together 4 or 5 threes each, and then you're out of here. And so because they have that type of talent, when they're fully healthy, they're still a very, very serious contender. Now, my thing is, they're missing some pieces, and I don't know how they're going to come back, how healthy they're going to be, and all of that. They look as bad as they are, etc. They're playing as bad as they look. But, again, Wiggins comes back. People get slotted in properly. GP2 comes back. People get slotted in properly. And that's kind of the problem there. People are playing out of position, leaning on some people too much. You got too much JaMychal Green going on, that kind of thing. You get those guys back to their rightful spots, and the Golden State Warriors start looking like the Golden State Warriors again. So I am not counting on them losing at all as a means of us being successful. I'm just not. I'm looking at other teams in regards to that. But them, if they win every game for the rest of the season, it won't surprise me, because that's the Golden State Warriors. So that's what actually brought me here. That is exactly what was on my mind right now. But they are not the only team shooting the ball out there that we must keep an eye on. They're just one of many, of course. The Clippers, the Timberwolves, the Jazz, the Blazers, the Pelicans. All of the teams in this flurry of squads need to be kept account of. And depending on how the Suns handle the next couple of weeks with KD, they might be in that mix too. They might be in that mix. I can totally see them stringing together some losses. So this is the type of thing where, the Nuggets, I told you guys about the Nuggets. They are not who they were in terms of the record. Yes, they are at the top of the West with a lot of breathing room, but they got a lot of those wins before the West became what it is now. And as I said, I thought they would be pulling back because I just don't think they're as good as the field anymore in terms of them being able to dominate the field. Nah, they're going to pull back. Well, they've been losing some games they had no business losing, so I don't know if this is a reflection of that at all. Losing to the Bulls and losing to the Nets today, I don't think that even has anything to do with that. But it still speaks to them going through a lull right now. And that lull may not stop at Eastern Conference teams. And then you're seeing other teams in the West get stronger just in general. So I just have a feeling they're going to get... if they get the wrong matchup in the first round, they're out of here. If they get my Lakers, I'm of the mindset, without being too cocky, that's a matchup we should want. Over the Kings, depending on how Ja's doing, maybe even over the Grizzlies, honestly. Just in terms of matchups, I just love Anthony Davis and a healthy LeBron James against Jokic and their players. I do. I think we're going to win that series. It may take 7 games, but I think we ultimately knock them off. Kings, I'm not sure about. Memphis, depending on how healthy they are, I don't know how we play against them. And Jaren Jackson tends to give us fits. But that Nuggets team, that's the one I want. Problem is, there's no way for us to get in that position without having too much to risk all the way there. You can't just simply fall into the 8th spot. Now you got to fight for your playoff lives. If you're in the 8th spot, you're not really in the 8th spot. You're probably going to have to play 2 games, depending on if you're losing that first one or not. So it's just not, with the injury issues we have, you don't want to play in the tournament. You do not. You want to skip that. And you want to be in the playoffs. You want the 6th seed, and you hope you can get a chance to see the Memphis Grizzlies if they stay at 3. So that's hopefully that's best case scenario for us. Again, for me, I want to avoid some of those teams that people don't care nothing about, like the Sacramento Kings. I think they're for real. I do. I think the Sacramento Kings are absolutely for real. And I think if they avoid us altogether, they may win the West. And I know some people have said, oh, they don't play defense. I think it was JJ Redick says they don't play enough defense. That's a thing. That's a thing. But with that being said, they simply do have defensive intangibles that we've known about all season long, that we've talked about all season long, and very key defensive players that are on this team that you shouldn't think are not defensive players. For example, Davion Mitchell, one of the best defensive players in all of basketball. He plays for that Sacramento Kings team that apparently doesn't play any defense. And then you look at the way that they steal the ball just in general. They get steals left and right. Keegan Murray's known for getting steals. Barnes is known for getting steals. Herter gets steals. Fox, obviously. Sabonis, obviously. They steal the ball. So the idea that they don't play great team defense, I think is skewed by the fact that every time they play against us, it's a turnover issue. Every time they played against my little small ball Lakers, we saw them quite a bit early in the season before we made the trade. We didn't have too much success against De'Aaron Fox. He's literally playing some of the best basketball in the world and closing people out. So for me, he's not a big as name as some of these other little point guards. I think it's because he's in Sacramento, but the way that he's been playing, he's just as good as some of these guys. He's really, really talented point guards that we tend to mention before him. So Sabonis, same thing in regards to the center position. He's better than some of the dudes that we like to mention before him. And it doesn't really matter if we believe that or not. He goes out there and he proves it. And his team is second overall team in the West because of that. And so I just look at the Kings and I say, whatever you need, they got it. A guy like Malik Monk is wildly talented. You know what I mean? Not too many people know that outside of LA because we had a chance to see him break out. Charlotte, they had him for a couple years. He didn't really get a chance to show himself to be a great player out there. They knew who they drafted. He just never developed there. He came here and showed us that he had developed just fine. We know what he can do. And he went to Sacramento and has played even better. So, thinking that they're going to fall off when they got a guy like Malik Monk on their bench who just basically doesn't miss very much and is highly athletic, like can jump out the gym, people don't really even know that. Yeah, he going to catch some people off guard in the playoffs. It won't be the Lakers, though. We already know. So these are the type of things, it's like people don't see Sacramento coming necessarily because they're in Sacramento. And, the league, in my opinion, is Eastern Conference oriented. So they kind of don't pay as much attention to what's going on over here. But people like us, teams in the Western Conference, we know what Sac's been doing all year. We know how serious they are, and we want to be able to avoid them if we're not 100% healthy. That's what we want, in my opinion. Whether established basketball fans who are not casuals understand that the Kings are a real team in the Western Conference. That's basically what I'm saying. If you're casual, you pay attention to the Kings for the last several years, you think they're the same Kings, you're going to get beat. Simply put. So that's the thing about them, man. I like them more than I like Memphis right now, especially if Ja's not 100%, Brandon Clark out the way. Yeah, no. They're a real team. It's them. It's the Lakers. Depending on if KD can come back and make some sense of the whole chemistry thing, it's definitely the Phoenix Suns. The Nuggets are a respectable contender, even though I poo-poo them more so than I do all the other contenders. I just don't. Jokic, to me, is an amazing, amazing talent. But he needs a Evan Mobley next to him. You know what I'm saying? He needs a Mitchell Robinson next to him. He needs somebody who can be an elite shot blocking presence next to him. I like Eric Gordon. Not Eric Gordon, but Aaron Gordon. I think Aaron Gordon's been really good. So I'm not going to sit here and say that Aaron Gordon is a negative. It's just, to me, Aaron Gordon is not that type of piece. So it ain't going to give you the dynamic that's going to scare teams with length. You're just not going to. Jokic doesn't scare us. He's going to destroy games by doing the things that he does. But at the end of the day, if he can't find somebody to stop us from getting in the paint, if he can't find somebody to help him on the weak side to keep people from getting layups on his team, then he's always going to be in a position to where teams aren't going to fear him. Now, he's either going to win or he's not, but he's not going to be feared. That's what I'm trying to express. They can be at the top of the West all you want, but at the end of the day, I see a layup line. And I see one guy who makes their entire thing go, which means I can get him in foul trouble and their whole offense is going to be shot. So that's why the Nuggets don't scare me. Jokic is the engine that makes everything go, and he's a piece that's not going to rim protect in the paint. So it's like they can't function without him, right? But again, they need some type of shot blocker down there next to him, and they never have it. So I see that they brought in Thomas Bryant, the absolute opposite of what you need. You need rim protection. He doesn't. I mean, that was the problem. That was why he didn't get any minutes, because he's a layup line. He doesn't defend at all. So it's like, I don't see anybody down there that's going to be able to make anything happen defensively inside. And because of it, it's going to be upon them to outscore people. And Jokic can do that. He's going to do all kinds of things to make things happen for himself. But just like you saw tonight, he had 35 points, 20 rebounds, and 11 assists, and his team still lost. They still lost at home to a Brooklyn Nets team without no KD. They made trades to decimate the whole roster. So for me, if you want me, a Laker fan, with Anthony Davis, LeBron James potentially healthy, Vanderbilt, and some of these guys that we got, to be scared of him, he's going to have to find somebody next to him that can make some things happen in the paint defensively. He's going to have to be able to keep Bron and keep AD out of the paint. It's not happening. That's essentially what I'm telling you. It's not happening. If AD establishes himself as an offensive player against Jokic, he's going to kill him like he always does. And that is not something that this very good Nuggets team has found any answer for. They've been winning games without having any answer for that. And so they're going to run into that and they're going to get knocked off. That's exactly what I think is going to happen. Their best bet is hopefully running into a Laker team that's not healthy. You better hope Bron has to stay out in that series. You better hope the Lakers don't find themselves in AFC. Or you better hope you don't fall. It's one or the other. So, given the fact that the Nuggets been losing games and there's still just enough games for them to actually fall out of that first spot, they better get their act together. You can't be affording to losing these games thinking you got that much of a cushion. You don't. I think it's only 6 games, and it's like 16 games left for some teams, 19 for others. So, Nuggets keep playing around. But it is what it is. I don't think the Lakers are going to catch them per se, but that's not the point. The point is they don't need to be lodging away from that first spot. They do not want to lodge loose of that. You don't want Sacramento catching number 1. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So, the Nuggets, again, with the right path, they'll be just fine. They catch the right couple of teams, they'll get as far as they want to go. But at the end of the day, as I've asked this question several times over the last couple of weeks, I'll ask it again. Is Jokic's style conducive to winning a championship? And in my humble opinion, it can be. But he's going to need that piece. They need to invest in a shot blocker that can slap next to him, which is why getting rid of Bol was a head scratcher, which is why getting rid of JaVale McGee is a head scratcher. You know what I mean? But Nuggets will nugget. So, and that is exactly why I think they're going to be knocked out in the first round. I think it's a good chance they run into the wrong squad and get knocked off. I think that. Especially if, let's just say the New Orleans Pelicans get Zion back, even though he's going to be out for another 2 weeks. Let's just say they find a way to get that 10th spot and then play up to get the 8th spot. I think the Nuggets could potentially be in trouble if he and BI are 100% healthy. I think that could potentially be a series they don't want to play in. You know, that kind of thing. It's like, I don't know, man. I just don't think their roster is constructed to beat some of the teams that they may have to face. That's what it really comes down to. They beat up on the regular season all year long, but I don't know, man. Like, for example, if the Nuggets run into the Clippers, I think that's a good matchup for the Clippers. There's a really good matchup for the Clippers. The type of wings they got. You consider Zubats and the guys that they got in that paint. That's a matchup. If I'm the Clippers, I'm like, okay, we can manage the Nuggets. We might be able to manage it. I think we can get them out of here. With Kawhi playing this way, PG playing the way he's been playing these last couple games. Yeah, that's how real that is to me. So we'll see what happens. Right now, I think they're in a position. If I was looking at things correctly, I think who's in the 7th spot is the Dallas Mavericks, and I thought the last I checked, the 8th spot was who was right ahead of us. Somebody's right ahead of us. I don't remember exactly who it is. Timberwolves, I think. I think it's the Timberwolves. Yeah, I believe that's how that goes. And then we're in 9th. And I think last I checked, I think the Pellies were in 10 or something like that. Or Utah. So we're all scrunched together, man. Teams need to win. I think Dallas is the team that I'm really looking at right now also, besides some of these other ones. You know, you consider OKC, Utah probably going to bounce out. They may not have the desire to stay in the playoff hunt. But I look at that. The Pelican team, like I said, they can't beat anybody right now. They really can't. But if they get Zion back, that changes quickly. But yeah, that Dallas team with where my head at? Luka being out, and then of course Kyrie, they sat him in the last game. I just don't know. I don't think they are built to really have those two guys ever out. You know, and the fact that the Lakers are being able to withstand injury, it's just showing us the difference between having depth and not, and what it can mean for your core. You know, your teams can't win games if just one or two guys sit down. And so that's why it feels good to be in our position right now, because we do not have that problem at all. It's about which players go out and whether or not we'll have enough backup help for those particular positions. For example, the point guard position and the center position. We don't really have those sold up as deep as we would like to. But as it pertains to our guards, or small forwards, power forward position, we ain't never running out of those small shooting guards. We'll never run out of. We got shooting guards that can back up your shooting guards. If you need a shooting guard, you can come to us. We got them over here. That's how many shooting guards we got. So, you know, the depth is wonderful, man. I don't have any complaints about our roster at all. I think all of our issues can be remedied with a couple of call-ups and maybe one signing for a center in the buyout market, which I think the Lakers are targeting right now. So if they do that, I still think we're on the up and up, man. I don't think there's anything to really complain about in terms of my squad. We just got to keep on keeping on in regards to keeping our foot on the necks of these teams that are just not as good as us. I don't want to pour it on too thick, but I do think tonight's matchup is a good one for the Lakers if they can just come in with the right amount of energy against a Knicks team that's hobbling without Brunson, who's officially out. He's officially out. And AD is likely still to play as he's probable for this game. So that's that. No surprises in regards to our lineup. I haven't heard anything about changes in the starting lineup or anything like that. So it's some big games tonight, man. We're watching for not only ourselves, but several of the teams that we are going up against are playing tonight. The Blazers and the Pelicans, I'm certain, are going at it tonight. There's a few others too. So it's not just about whether or not the Lakers can take care of business. We need other teams to do the same and continue to knock each other off. Anytime you see the Timberwolves playing anybody, the Utah Jazz playing anybody, Dallas playing anybody, we definitely want those games to go against those teams. It's that simple. OKC, won to lose. Portland, stay down so that we can climb up into the 6th seed or better and skip the play-in tournament entirely. So that's what I want as a Laker fan. You know, as I was saying, I think the league is Eastern Conference oriented. I know for a fact I'm Western Conference oriented. I don't pay as much attention to the Eastern Conference as I'd like to. as I'm going to going forward. But right now, it's just not as interesting in the East. You know, they're a little more sewed up as it pertains to who's going to play who. The teams that could play, you know, the teams that could slot around differently are at the bottom, and chances are they're going to have to run into the Bucks or the Celtics. That's just a bad look in Eastern Conference. You know what I mean? So it's not really exciting. The Nets have been winning games in shocking ways. I know the Knicks ain't going to be too happy to hear about that. And we're going to have to provide a little more separation between those two teams if we can, but you know, the Philly's kind of stuck where they're at. Cleveland's kind of stuck where they're at. So it's like it's not much to look at in the Eastern Conference. They're just waiting for the playoffs to start, and you know the Hawks and the Chicago's and Indies, they can just fight for the 10th spot. But that's about it. They're gonna just fight for an opportunity to get knocked off by Giannis anyway. Doesn't matter. So everything about what NBA, in my humble opinion, is about us out here in the Western Conference. Who can race themselves into the playoff tournament, match up with the right path to get themselves where they want to go. And as far as I can tell, we're the new kids on the block. We're the hottest team in town. We're the it team, all that. It's us. And so I do believe that teams are going to wake up, especially to play the Lakers. I think teams are going to see us as a contender that could take the championship. I think guys are not going to rest against the Lakers, that kind of thing. I think that's coming, especially if we make a statement against the Knicks today. It's just going to further establish that we are not a team that you expect to win against going forward. And that's the type of fear we want to put in teams' hearts right now. With Anthony Davis playing loose, Austin Reeves shooting the ball and scoring and passing and doing all the things that he does, and getting so much out of so many, you know, with D'Lo and Dennis Schroeder playing at such a high level. If we can just keep everybody who is healthy, sky's the limit, man. Sky's the limit. I'm on board. I'm buying. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid and all that. And so, if anything, I'm just curious to see how we're going to handle certain games. You know, with this game tonight, the Knicks, I do expect to win it, but there's going to be some games coming up where it's just going to be interesting to see if we rest people against the Houston Rockets, for example. I'm not going to sit up here and pretend like I expect the Rockets to come out and want to win, but the fact that they got KPJ, Green, and all these guys, Sengun playing, it's one of those situations where it's like, what's another win to a team with only 15 wins? Nothing, right? Good for morale. You can beat the AD and Lakers and keep them out of the playoffs, or shock the world and beat the Lakers. That's something to carry forward into future seasons. It's a win a team like that should want. And so I'm telling you guys that they've already sewed up being eliminated from the playoffs. And with 2 more games left, the only thing the Rockets are probably thinking about is further developing Jabari Smith, KPJ, Green, and all those guys over there. You know, Terry Eason, they have a real squad going forward. And I just know they're going to want to win that game. I know it. One of those 2 games, they're going to play for real. So we better be ready for it. So that's the kind of stuff I'm paying attention to, man. I'm not poo-pooing certain teams that just assume they want to lose. You got to pay attention to what it is they're looking at. Have they been eliminated? Yes. Do they have young players that are starting to play better? Yes. Do they have anything to gain or lose by winning a game against you? No. Much more to gain, given the fact that they just have a bunch of young talent that is really, really good. And they probably want a game like that to say they won. So, yeah, we'll be ready for them. Just like we'll be ready for everybody else. Every game's a must-win, and we're going to treat everybody like they're trying to stop us from making the playoffs, because at the end of the day, that's what they're doing. So that's pretty much concludes my video. That pretty much concludes everything I want to say for this hour. If anything pops back up, of course, I'll get right back on this camera. But until then, 6 o'clock, I have something for you at halftime and at the end of the game, of course. BDL 44. Thank you all for watching.